Oh, what's up, guys? Looks like the lighting is not going to be good tonight because I've been robbed. Look at this. Look at this. Now, actually, I've been moving the comics there for a while, and we've reached the point where we're going to take a break and do a little update on YouTube because I'm at that point that I'm just moving one stack to over here and then moving the stack again and then trying to do this and trying to do that. So here's the comic book room as I'm seeing people do it. All four walls and stuff were just full of comics. And the lighting is horrible in here because it's nighttime. There's not a lot I can do. So yeah, we've gotten, I don't know, a ton of stuff moved and there's still a ton of stuff more to do. But like I said, I'm going to take a break here because I've just reached the point where I kind of lost my mind a little bit with the move. Oh, people are in and out. Okay. So anyway, I was going to show a few things here that I found during the move and a few things I picked up to kind of kill the monotony and let you know that the live shows will probably be in a different place next month with a whole new comic book room that will probably be in different. Every time I do a show, there'll probably be a little bit more built up in there. The Purge is happening. I've been talking about the Purge for a while. All these comics down here, I want to be getting rid of, and not all the books. Definitely not the tick and stuff, right? So I've already probably got about I don't know 150 books so far that I've just kind of pulled out because I wanted to move the good stuff and I'm out of boxes and stuff. So the purge is going to be going on. I'm going to be getting rid of VHS tapes, which that's going to cut me deep. I have a ton of DVDs. I didn't know how many I had until at this time. Yeah, I've been working my butt off. Kind of went crazy over the weekend a little bit and stuff, right? Finally. I've been doing this off and on since today's 23rd for 14 days. 14 days almost every night, except for I quit about 5:30 last night. And like I said, people are coming in now. But I've reached the point tonight where I have a few boxes, but I keep moving this piece. I move this stack over here, and then I'm moving it again. I'm not really getting any packing done. I'm like, that's when you know you need a break, right? Now, one of the cool things that happens, I'm finding stuff that I either thought was gone. This was actually behind all of the long boxes that were against this wall behind me. He, at some point, had fell down, if you will. Now, the significance of this is that this is not the one I had. I got rid of the one I had in 2005 that I got in 1983. When I was 10 years old, my parents had split up and we moved in with my grandmother. And we were so poor. That's what it was. I was poor but happy that I didn't have a birthday party or anything like that. This was the only gift I got. So I played with this and I had a ball of kite string and I would sit here and pretend that Manny faces here with his robot face, monster face, human face was fighting a gigantic spider, from Eternia, ambush spider, if you will. It was huge and stuff. Kept wrapping them up and stuff, right? And I actually, this might actually be mine. I might be wrong because he does have that crack on his forehead. So this might be the actual one from 1983, the only gift I got when I was 10, which is fine. No cake, no nothing like that. We just did not have the money when I was a kid there. One of the other things that I have been doing, and I started this before the move and stuff like that, is with the state of comics, I can sit here and do videos all day long on comics evolve. They go through different eras. That's why we have Golden Age, Atomic Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, you know, and then whatever they want to say it is from there. Hey guys, Gambit 896 is there, right? And the problem is that with comics today, I could do video after video talking about the evolution of comics actually didn't evolve. It got injected with a virus and it was like a coup happened, right? Comics have been taken over. They didn't really evolve. So what has happened is I've gone back to start reading some classics. Moving stinks. When Geeks moves, it's worse. Good luck getting it all down. If you need me to come get stuff and take it off your hands, just holler. That's funny. I guess I could finish my thought I had a minute ago now that people are coming in, but the Purge is happening. I showed a whole bunch of comics here on the side here. The Purge is happening, and I'm probably going to be taking them to an auction site that's sort of on a place called Lee Highway, that's in between Bristol, Virginia, and Abingdon, Virginia. It's going to be comic books, VHS tapes, cassettes, just all sorts of things. The room that I'm going to have is a comic room. It's not so much that it's smaller than this room, but it could have been used for a dining room. So it's got one less wall. You know what I'm saying? And then the other wall I have is actually the walkway into the kitchen. So it's not a lot of privacy like it is in here, and there's no closet. So I'm just going to load it all up and take and let them auction it off. If I make 20 bucks, I make 20 bucks, but I'm not going to be doing this. We are in the I'm paying $4+ a piece for this crap age. Yeah. Pretty much. I'm not paying $4+ a piece for this crap age. Yeah, exactly. Going back to the comics, I was talking about the price, the talent pool that's not there. If you stop follow Jim Steranko on Twitter, every now and then he nails it. He said he wouldn't work for Marvel for peanuts. He's talked about the talent pool a little bit and stuff. Jim Steranko is Jim Steranko, who's always seemed to have had his pulse on comics anyway, and pop culture and things like that. And that's what I mean. It could be real negative. So what's happened is I've gone back and started reading some classics now. I know the lighting is terrible here. Yeah, Creed Sherman here. But I have, these books here. I'm going back and reading Elric. I actually read Elric for the first time when I was about 5. I lasted about 50 pages, and it was really strange because my mom kind of, I think I spooked my parents a little because they were my stepdad's books, but I was reading Elric and Milibone. Sounds very French. I can never say it right. Uh, oh yeah, and Elric's great, man. Yeah, and what's funny is ever since I sort of mentioned Elric, I had some people send me links to a dude named Razor Fist, but I think his channel is called the Rageaholic. Now I've run across his videos here and there over the years that popped up in my feed. Yes, Eric Bean, you need an L in your name. That's funny. We'll just show that one. We'll get that. And this is a masterpiece, right? So this edition has 3 of them. I have 4 editions that probably I want to say have there's quite a bit of Elric books on my Instagram. If you want to go check it, I took pictures of all this stuff about a month ago. But I had when I was 4, when I was about 5, I read probably about the first 50 pages of the first Elric book, if you will. And I was asked, "Do you understand what you're reading?" My mom was kind of gay. I swear she had a look where I was spooking her a little bit. I was like, "Yeah," and I described the ruby throne that he was on. But as I got older, I had all the Elric books up to Stormbringer. I think it's 5 books. Elric, Sailor on the Seas of Fate, We're the White Wolf. I always forget that. There's another one in there I'm forgetting, and then Stormbringer. They're in there. I had those read by the time I was 15, and it was really odd because it felt more like it was about pirates and stuff in my imagination. You know what I mean? I saw, but with Elric, I understood him completely. So I've ended up starting, rereading these, and they're a masterpiece. Now that I'm older, this is probably about my 6th or 7th time reading these. A lot of people have their Lord of the Rings. A lot of people have their Stephen King books. You know the people and stuff. I'm lucky enough to have Elric, if you will, and I have tons of Elric books, right? But that has led up to me kind of comparing the Elric adaptations in comics here. From what was it, Pacific Comics there for a while, and it was Roy Thomas, Craig Russell. I actually met Craig Russell, got to look at some of his original art, and he signed them. These are from the 80s, and these are all collected in hard editions. So go look up Elric on YouTube, and there's a dude named Razor Fist, the Rageaholic, who did this outstanding video kind of running down what it was and how it's ripped off The Witcher. That's what brought it all up. I talked about what reading my Elric here and there, and it's just a masterpiece. These books are just perfect. They're just great, and it's fantastic stuff. And and if you don't want to read the books, I do recommend some of the comic adaptations that Roy Thomas adapted. Roy Thomas brought Elric into comics with Michael Moorcock in 72, maybe 1972, and Conan the Barbarian, like 15 and 16 or 15, somewhere in the teens. I had those too. And what's amazing is when Michael Moorcock lets Elric be in any kind of comic book adaptations or news stories. He was in Tom Strong, if you will. Those actually count. They are a canon. Anything with Elric is canon. I also got a Hawkwind CD that I ordered off of eBay from 1985, and the concert is on YouTube. The entire concert is on YouTube of a Hawkwind doing a tribute album to Elric, and Michael Moorcock actually gave them some lyrics for a song. And it was really bizarre to watch the concert on YouTube while I was packing. I had it on for sound. I'm not gonna lie, most of the music I just thought was sort of bland, and then they'd have like a really good song. But in the concert that's on YouTube for Hawkwind's one of Hawkwind's Elric albums, I think it was from 1984, 1985. They actually have a dude come out dressed as Elric, the albino, and he's just standing there while they perform. Cracks me up. Cracked me up. What we got here? Last older book I read and did a video on was Birds of Prey #8 by Chuck Dixon and Greg Lance. It's a great book and single issue story. Gambit 896, yeah. And Chuck Dixon's been blackballed. I mean, he has been blackballed for being Republican or whatever. Chuck Dixon, one of those greats of just being a writer. His Punisher stuff. I remember him doing an interview that if he realized that Punisher was more of a villain or an anti-hero, if it had dawned on him, he would have written all the Punisher books back and forth. His Birds of Prey stuff, I think the Birds of Prey is probably going to be his legacy stuff. He's got Winter World, and I mean, he's worked on everything. He had a great Robin. His work on Robin and stuff like that really stood out. But Chuck Dixon is one of those guys. He could write anything about anything. He could probably have a whole epic battle go on inside of a trash dumpster in the dark at 3 in the morning. Great guy. Just a great guy, right? Something new that I got, and I've already flipped through it. I already think I'm going to be disappointed, but I took a chance on it because it's got a Watchmen parody in it, right? And then I saw who wrote the Watchmen parody, Rich Johnston. And I was like, damn it, I wish I'd known that before. But I went ahead and ordered this. It came in the mail today. Softwood, a very sophomoric title for a book, for a magazine. It's made by the people that do heavy metal. So it's the opposite of heavy metal. It's softwood. I don't get how, shouldn't be lightwood if we're going to go opposite. But anyway, the opposite of metal is softwood, I guess, whatever. And I went with the Frazetta tribute cover, if you will, of a comedic death dealer riding a cat. But it has a Watchmen's parody story and it's satire in it. And as soon as I opened it up, I was going to read it first thing, and I saw who wrote it, and I'm like, damn it. And I flipped through it. I'll let you know if I recommend this or not. So far, no. This could be heavy metal brought European comics to America in the 70s. I mean, it's what it comes down to. It's where we got our Mobius from. You know what I mean? Things like that. Then they injected it with some real talent from America also, like Bernie Wrightson. I knew Bernie Wrightson's style from heavy metal before I connected he was the guy who did Swamp Thing. This is like when I was 7 or 8. You know what I mean? He had Freak Show or something in heavy metal. So when I got this, I'm like, we'll give it a shot here, see where they're at. Had low expectations. And so far, it doesn't feel clever or smart, even though it's supposed to be pure comedy. Flipping through there and stuff, it just sort of felt vulgar and sophomoric. There's something missing to give it a little bit of substance, if you will. But maybe my expectations were too high. What we got here? One of the best ending ever, Stormbringer. Creature, you're right, man. That ending, I did not see it coming. That's what made it so great. And then it made perfect sense, the end of the Elric saga. The Elric books can actually be a little confusing if you just don't just get online and see the chronological order you need to read the books in. Because there's a book in 89, Fortress of the Pearl or something, and there's this book and this book, and they kind of fit in between the other books. I think the third book was actually the first book written chronologically and stuff, right? It kind of scares people away when they don't know what order to read them in. But I'm telling you, I'm not going to hype it up, but the ending is perfect. The ending is perfect. And make no bones about it, Elric is not a hero. I mean, he's probably the first anti-hero. He's a big he's the exact opposite of Conan. That's the way he was designed. Okay. Conan hated magic. Elric uses sorcery. Conan is big, bad, and muscly. Elric is a thin albino that has to have drugs and things and herbs to get strength. Okay. Conan was a barbarian. Elric was a king. You know, he was in the long lineage of kings and stuff, right? Where would you say start reading Elric novels? Elric and Melibone, the very first one. Yeah, the very first one. I would just start right at the very first Elric book, Elric and Melibone. Right there it is, right here. That's the first book right there. Sailor on the Seas of Fate is the second book, and I love it. It introduces the multiverse, the eternal champion concept, which I'm not really going to get into, but basically in different dimensions, there's an Elric. You have Corum. That's my favorite, Corum. I would almost put Corum above Elric on certain days, if you will, things like that. And there's adaptations of them. And the Quorum books that were put out, I think Roy Thomas adapted those in like in 85, 86, 87, something like that. You can find them. There's 12 of them. And the first half, if I remember right, are by Mike Mignola before he was famous. Okay. I always said that Moorcock could never have been a teacher. Imagine that. I've been finding out stuff about Moorcock. I hope's not true, and it's politically. I'm just ignoring it. I quit. You know, Moorcock had a huge influence on a lot of writers who write comics. Neil Gaiman being a huge one, right? Apparently, there's a Witcher series that's coming out on Netflix. I think I sort of heard the name Witcher back in like 2012 or 13, and I remember because of where I was living, and I never really caught it. I see this trailer for the television show that's coming on Netflix. Found out it was before it was a video game. It was a series of novels and stuff, and it's pure plagiarism of Elric, in my opinion. So if you watch The Witcher and you kind of dig that dude that's in there, the main character, go read you some Elric. And then, like, if you don't really want to, if you're not a big reader in the novels, I do recommend reading the comic book adaptations that I showed through Pacific Comics and stuff like that. They're not perfect, but they get to the point, right? The introduction of Elric is one thing on the Ruby Throne, but in the second or third chapter, when we get another introduction of Elric with his armor on and his famous dragon helmet and stuff like that, it's quite epic. You know, they kind of just jump to that in the comic. There's little things you would miss, but it gets to the point. I kind of feel like the comic book adaptations are nothing but a cliff notes and a commercial for the actual books. The books have pulp comic, you know, they have pulp roots, if you will. So they're not a chore to read. And the way the first book goes, each chapter is its own little story. You know, it's very it's very interesting reading, and it's very smart writing. But it is simple enough to read just a chapter a night. It's based off the book series by, I'm not even going to try to say that name. So Gambit 896 knows what I'm talking about there. Okay. If you have any questions, man, go ahead. Like I said, I'm just killing time. I'm tired of moving. Everybody that's popped in, here's the comic book room. I have moved a ton of stuff. Yeah, there you go. That closet was full. And the lighting is bad because, you know, I'm moving and stuff, right? And I'm just doing this. I'm doing this to take a break. Like, I got to the point where I made a stack and then I moved the stack. I made another stack and I moved the stack. I'm not doing any actual packing. I'm burnt. I'm burnt out from the moving and stuff, right? Another thing that I've been reading off and on, again revisiting, is Hardboiled by Frank Miller and Jeff Darrow through Dark Horse. This is just a fantastic, I don't want to say quite cyberpunk, but it has a very Blade Runner feel to it, if you will, an insurance collector, if you will. Kind of, it's kind of a really hard to explain. Touches on suburbia and what it means to be a family man, if you will. Meanwhile, it's grotesquely violent. And you do find out that this guy's a robot, but does he know is he a robot? And it was just an excuse for Jeff Darrow to come in here and be able to do his hyper detailed artwork and stuff, right? I met Jeff Darrow, and amazingly enough, he put the sketch in here for me of our main character. And thing's just fantastic, in my opinion, with what they do in it. But when I met Jeff Darrow at Heroes Con and stuff, he had 2 or 3 people there kind of looking at his sketchbooks. And I was waiting patiently, and I knew these people had no idea who he was, and they're like, "Oh, look at this stuff that's cool." And his sketchbook that they were looking at as he was sitting there watching them and being very friendly and stuff, he had a Goldar of the Space Giants from the '60s, something that was on TBS in the late '70s, early '80s, being reran. It was a Japanese kids show, and they didn't recognize Goldar or anything like that. And that's when I sort of like had enough. I kind of broke in there, and I'm like, "That's Goldar." And then Jeff Jaro and I ended up talking about, Japanese television shows that we'd seen when we were kids. He's much more into it than me. Don't get me wrong; it's a heavy influence on his art. But that's one of the cool things about when I meet some of these creators. When I met Arthur Pseudonym, I ended up telling him about Al Williamson. He was I had an Epic Illustrated or something that I wanted him to sign because he had done the cover. They used a piece of his art for the cover, and he gets it and he starts looking at it, and he sees the advertisement for the Blade Runner movie adaptation from 1982 that Marvel was doing. He's like, "Is that Al Williamson?" And I ended up telling him all this stuff. Talking like fans to with these guys is really cool. Really cool. Someday I would love to do a live show with you about Elric and such. Sword and sorcery is my wheelhouse. Sure, man. Yeah, let me get moved in. I'm hoping to have the good internet. I have been told I'm going to get 50 megabytes per hour or per second. Okay, 50 to 60. I'm surviving on 8 to 10 now. Okay, so hopefully, might be able to do that. So, creature, hit me up sometime. I think if you go to my YouTube page, there should be a link to something on my social media, Twitter, Facebook, or something, even Instagram. Yeah, hit me up there sometime, man. And tell me your creature, man. I meet so many people online. I think we're already Facebook friends now that I think about it. Yeah, there's just so many people on my side of it that I run across that I feel like an ass sometimes. Just added a copy of Elric Novels to my watch list on eBay. Nice. I'm telling you, man, a beat up copy for $1. It may be all you need to introduce yourself to it before if you want to see if you invest yourself. Okay. And it's not one of those books I say you have to hang in. I'm saying read the first 50 pages through a go. And when he gets his sword Stormbringer, which I think is in the 3rd book, anyway, you'll meet Ariok, the Lord of Chaos that they worship. It gets in the little scenes that they do when he is casting spells. You understand how taxing they are, and you got to remember that Melbonians are not human. They look human, you know what I mean, but they're not human. There's just enough in there to where you get to the way they react to things emotionally is they're not makes them they're not human. And his love of his life is his cousin. Just to let you know, gets a little Shakespearean there, I think. Awesome, awesome. Okay. But Hard Boiled is just, I think it was 3 issues originally. And if anything, it'll be the artwork. If you're a fan of Blade Runner, I say get this. Okay. It's not a rip off of Blade Runner or anything like that. It's heavily influenced by Blade Runner. Um, and they get by with a lot of the violence and stuff because you find out this guy's secret that he's probably get that glare off there. They do a lot of stuff to him as you're reading this stuff, and he just has such attitude. And you can just go over the art in detail. I mean, here's a big car, car wreck, car pile up there for you. And every time I read this, I just lose myself in the art more than the story. So it was really cool meeting him. Another thing I kind of found through all this stuff is I was on board with Mouse Guard. I think it came out in 2005, maybe. But from the get-go, I was down with Mouse Guard, right? Mouse Guard takes place exactly what it says in 11. It starts out in 1152, fall of 1152. And Mouse Guard, it has the romantic kingdom kind of setting. And the Mouse Guard would be like the knights, the rangers and the knights that protect little villages of mice because everything eats them. It's very cool, very nice. They have their own legends, the legend of the Black Axe, and things like that. So I was there from the get go. I had the first mini series. They're an odd size. That's my problem with them. They remind me of children's books I would see when I was a kid. They're that size. I have them over there. I should get them and stuff. But that first issue I think was worth $50 at one point. I don't know anymore. Um, but what was really cool about it, here's what the first issue cover looks like. But they had this epic battle with a black snake, just coming out to eat them. And you get how badass these little mice are. But what I wanted to show you is when I met David Peterson. Oh, watch me not be able to find it. Oh, yeah, there it is. When I met David Peterson, I told him about my name being Howler Mouse, and I wanted a mouse howling at the moon. So he sketched that in there, and it's my watermark. Um, it's my watermark on my videos in the corner. But what was also very interesting is I've saved it somewhere, probably on Facebook or something. But all of a sudden, I found this sketch that Dave Peterson had done of a mouse howling. Had a better picture of one of his mice howling, and you can see the shadow of three wolves on him. And I'm just sitting there like, dude. I'm like, I know where you got that. Yeah, I know where you got that. Oh, Creature, I adore Mouse Guard. I use it in my classroom. Fantastic. That is fantastic. Um, Mouse Guard is just solid. I even have a role-playing game that I thought about getting one time. So with all that going on, I ended up trying to watch, what was it, the last X-Men movie, The Dark Phoenix. And I turned it on in the background last week. I had the movie for 5 days from the library, and it never got my attention. Now the fiance ended up watching it, and she liked it. I can't give you a review. It did not hold my interest. I don't know if it's where I was moving, where I had other things going on, but I couldn't sit down and watch it. So when I took it back, I looked over and I saw this Batman Hush, the animated stuff. I may try to watch this when I go to bed tonight. But I was there when Batman Hush, the actual issues of Batman, the actual run Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee did. I was there buying it month to month. So I'm probably going to be heavily critical of this. I've seen enough stuff get the adaptations. I know how they have to tell a story, but Under the Red Hood, the straight to DVD Batman cartoon of Under the Red Hood, proves they can do something good. So I'm hoping this goes good. Sleepy Reader's here. Creature is here. Gambit 896 is here. Cayman X was in and out. Okay. But anyway, I'm going to watch this tonight. Some of the Batman straight to DVD stuff I thought was fantastic. I was a huge fan of Batman Year One. I really liked Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. I have 2 DVDs of that. They had a part 1 and 2, just to turn around and come up with an edition where they put them together. The first time around, I was just sort of like, feels, they had the 80s music for the soundtrack in there. I mean, it could almost be a RoboCop movie with the soundtrack and stuff, but they missed a lot of the introspective stuff where you're in Batman's head while he's doing things. We get the action. So to me, you could probably just take your copy of Dark Knight Returns and just read it while you're watching the cartoon to fill in the gaps and stuff. I thought it was a really good. But Under the Red Hood, I think that is the greatest Batman cartoon they have put out straight to DVD. Call it just me. But I have actually watched that with little kids around. I've watched that with other people who had never, aren't into comics and stuff. And you're like, this should not be this good. It was fantastic. Charlton66 got it. Hey, Charlton66, brother, I texted you back today. I did not get. I didn't see your text yesterday where I was packing and moving, and I passed out at 5:30 yesterday. Just exhausted and stuff, man. So give me a yell, brother. Give me a yell. Just bought a used copy of Elric Novels for £2.60 off of eBay. I hope you enjoy it. I feel like you will. The books just get better. I'm trying to think when Stormbringer, his sword is a demon. a demon that eats souls, and it kind of it's sort of like heroin the way I read it. It empowers him, empowers Elric, and at times takes him over so that he goes through a berserker rage and stuff like that. It's great stuff. Gambit again. Batman: The Dark Knight Returns and Under the Red Hood are two phenomenal comic book adaptations and films in general. Completely agree. Charlton 66 got me. All right. The Elric. Yeah, we're going to have to do an Elric show. We got Creature, we got Sleepy, we got Gambit buying the book off eBay while we're doing this show. And like I said, Rageaholic, Razor Fist. Some people sent me some links of him talking about Elric. I think he said it all in those, so check those out. But heck, well, Creature and I might be doing an Elric show at some point in time, so I'm gonna have to get through these books again and stuff. All right, awesome. So another thing that I found, I'm throw out some questions and stuff while I'm doing this, guys. For the people jumping in again, this is the comic book room. I have moved 99.9% of my comics. And I've reached a point where I'm burnt out. I can't move anymore. I'm moving stacks around. I'm not really packing. I'm moving the same stack around, so I just slowed down. Still got to get some more boxes to get what's left over here. Rageaholic's episode on the shadows well worth the watch, by the way. Yes, okay, Rageaholic's got fans. The guys looks like the video I saw where he was talking about the Witchers from 2013. Now, like I said, Rageaholic has popped up in my feed over the years, so I've watched a video here and there. And the guy's a genius. I mean, it's just his language. I can't listen to it when I'm somewhere for lunch or something like that. So yeah, okay. So one of the other things I found was a book I absolutely loved, and I got a video of me talking to Garth Ennis for a minute, right? But there's something about Rover Red Charlie that's one of those books that's near and dear to me, just because it's that oddity. I used to pull out books like Sword of the Atom and stuff like that that were real popular, but I thought they had something. You know what I mean? Like my favorite reads because you sit down and it's just a solid read, in my opinion. Had a little bit of heart, had a little something. Well, here we go. Okay, and then his Daredevil episode is really good. I'll check that out. Rereading Peter David and Perez, Sex and Violence. Oh my God, I have not read that in so long. Oh, I was just real happy that he had that. And oh God, what was it? Crimson? Perez got another indie book out, Crimson too. Um, yeah, Sex and Violence. Yeah, that was pretty good. It was pretty good. Peter David, when he does something indie, it still has a flair for it. It's something good for it. All right, cool. So Rover Red, but this is Rover Red Charlie. It's these three dogs, right? And basically, imagine Stand By Me with dogs, with humanity going into a berserker rage. In the middle of the city, everybody's killing each other, running each other over. And you get this whole story through the viewpoint of the dogs. So you don't understand the human language, right? And they somehow think that if they go west and get to the coast, to the water, very 300, if you're not 300, but oh my God, the warriors. It was the Roman tale of the soldiers trapped in enemy land, and they figured if they got to the sea, they would be safe. So these dogs figure if they can get away from the humans that have lost their freaking minds and they're killing everything, that they'll be safe. So they're trying to get all the way to the west coast to just get to the ocean. And it's very Stand By Me like with dogs. I absolutely love this story. My big fear is my big fear was is Anderson, my buddy I was telling you about. He knows how I feel about Garth Ennis's Crossed. That's just a book that's just too much for me. You know what I mean? And he was saying, "Hey, this might be a prequel to Cross," and I was like, "Leave my dogs alone." So when I meet Garth Ennis, I ask him. I go right up there. Garth's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Stop." I was like, "My buddy over there," and I point to him, is telling me that Rover Red Charlie might be the prequel to Crossed. He was like, "It was almost." And I was happy. So then we're sitting there having a talk. So Garth and I talk a little bit. It's in the video. We talked for a few more minutes and stuff. They only got about 30 seconds of the conversation. And then all of a sudden, Garth Ennis wanted to go back to talking about Crossed and River Red Charlie. And I was like, shh, I hushed up Garth Ennis, my friends. My friends laughed their ass off about it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Now, I don't want to hype, you know me, I don't want to hype up the book. I loved it. I read the story. I loved it. The things some of these dogs escape from and go through, there's still some twisted stuff in there, but the freaking dogs, they're so sweet. You know what I mean? Like they're, oh, you know, you just want to cuddle up with these dogs and stuff, and they all have their own personality. What is that other book Evan Dorkin does? I can't think of it. Okay, and then Gambit here. I'm currently rereading Ennis's Hitman run. Such a great run. Hitman is a fantastic book set in the DC universe. Hitman is just so fantastic. Is it similar to Grant Morrison's We Three? No, I don't. Well, I mean, we're seeing the story. I would put it in a genre. I think if we had a genre of animal tales where we hear the animals talking, and things like that. You know, if you like that kind of stuff, I would read it with We Three. Okay, kind of same, a little bit of the same emotion in there and stuff, but they're both they're both fruit, but one's an apple, one's an orange. You know what I'm saying? Beast of Burden, Charlton 66. Yes, Beast of Burden, We Three, Rubber Red Charlie. To me, I would love to have a genre for the animal tales. You know what I mean? That they have there with that, right? But I think it's fantastic. If you like the We Three, I think you'll like Rubber Red Charlie. I really do. I really do. I don't think one's a rip off the other. I think they're just really great storytelling with animals. I'm an old Watership Down Plague Dogs fan, so my fiance loves Watership Down. That she just ordered. She got it the other day. She ordered the book to reread. She's a huge Watership Down. I loved Watership Down as a kid. Plague Dogs, did not get to watch that until about 2010. Love it. Watership Down, Plague Dogs. What? There's got to be a name for that genre where we had the animals telling the tales. You know what I mean? And it's not, it's not for 7-year olds. You know what I'm saying? It's smart. It's got some mature themes there, but the animals are still sweet and stuff. It's not Winnie the Pooh. Watership Down and Plague Dogs, amazing, just amazing. Yeah, everybody's popping up on Watership Down. For a while there, Watership Down, that 70s cartoon, that's the one I watched as a kid, was on YouTube for a little bit. Seems like I saw it on Netflix or something. Yeah, it's definitely a genre with no name, I guess. Amazing with everything that's got a name out there. It's amazing to me that nobody is coming up with the name for that genre right now. I'm solid. I feel like it's got a name and we just don't know it. It's good stuff there, right? Speaking of more Garth Ennis, maybe. Hold on, what have I got here? Like I said, this is the stuff that's left over. Some of the books I'm going to purge would kind of surprise you. But from issue 201 up of Jeff Johns' Flash run, it seems like I kind of feel like this was, I don't know what year is this, '03. I feel like there's a little bit that Marvel got from this run when it came to Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Don't get me wrong, right? But basically, what happened is I think the Spectre had made it to where everybody forgot that Wally West was the Flash. Everybody ever in the whole world, including Wally West. So we pick up with Wally West not knowing he's the Flash. He's a mechanic and stuff. Great concept, but didn't deliver. And I have a huge Flash run. I've been a Flash fan, mostly with DC anyway, those characters and Super Friends, if you will. And the Flash was the kid that I put on my tough skin pants in the late 70s and my Wildcat tennis shoes. And I would try to leave my footprint in the dust like they did for the Wildcat shoes commercial while I was playing the Flash. Then I would turn around and be Green Lantern for a little bit. You know what I mean? But I'm getting rid of this later run of his. It was just not my cup of tea. And like I said, there's certain storylines that came way after this with Spider-Man and stuff that I just had to wonder, is this where they got the idea from? Because even some of the comic folk are fans of Garth Ennis. Here we go. Creature, technically, I think it's called Animal Fantasy. Hmm. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Anthropomorphism, animals, human traits. I could go with that. I'm definitely going to be looking this up after this show. I still need to get the later subsequent trades volumes of Jeff Johns' Flash run. Jeff Johns' best issues, in my opinion, when he was doing his Flash run, because when Jeff Johns came on the Flash, he claimed to have every issue of the Flash going back to the Silver Age and stuff, right? Um, I don't know if that was just his way of marketing or whatever, because Wade made that book something, and you're kind of following Wade, and Mark Wade took Flash, and it was Wade's. It's kind of Ringo's. They even brought Grant Morrison and Mark Miller in to keep the book going when Wade took a break and all this stuff. So here comes Jeff Johns, and it's sort of like he's wanting to show you he's a Flash fan, you know but his best issues was when he targeted and made the stories about the villains. It was the villains that he elevated on that book, which was just genius with stuff. I always, like I said, when I was a DC kid, I loved the Flash stuff. You know what I mean? So to see those villains actually get elevated, to see Captain Cold be something. If you go back and you look at Challenge of the Super Friends, the intro to the show in the late 70s, where you had a whole season of the Legion of Doom versus Super Friends, Captain Cold was freezing the entire Earth. If you look at that opening, okay. So I'm glad he elevated him and made him a player. Pride of Baghdad is another great title. Everybody keeps telling me to get that. I never run across it, and then I forget about it because I can't run across it. Wasn't that based on a true story of two lines? Was it a true story? I mean, we're not talking Ghost in the Darkness. I know that, but the Pride of Baghdad, wasn't that a true story? I think of a line walking through Baghdad. I also need to get the trade volumes of Mark Wade's Flash run. I actually prefer. I think one of the greatest stories told in the Flash mythos that could actually elevate itself to be like in the top 50 great comic book stories of all time. But what holds it back is that you really have to be into the Flash mythos, if you will. Was when did he do that? It was something like around the 70s of Flash Volume 2, 70 to 83, or I mean, shoot, 76 to 82, 79, I don't know. But anyway, in the late 70s and the early 80s issues there in Flash Volume 2, we had the return of Barry Allen. It's like Wade's like everybody's, Barry Allen. Barry Allen was a character that when he died in Crisis, everybody seemed to think that he had such a good death. Even the hardcore fans were fine with it. But there was this unspoken thing amongst everyone at the time that wanted to talk about is that if they ever dared bring Barry Allen back, it better be hell of a story. Well, Wade kind of did the Return to Barry Allen story, which was fantastic. It's not so much that I figured it out. It's just that I knew they wouldn't be bringing Barry Allen back like this. It would have been an event. You know what I mean? So it would still be worth reading. And I don't think that spoiled the story. I just don't think anybody was convinced that he was coming back. But Wade just did just enough that it messed with people. Like, oh my God, are they doing it? Yeah, Pride of Baghdad was such a phenomenal read. Yep, yep. The Absolute Edition of Crisis on Infinite Earths is one of my prides in my collection. My Crisis on Infinite Earths that I bought month to month when they came out when I was 12, 11 to 12, 12 to 13. I got them month to month. And what was it, 2013 or 14? I actually was able to get Marv Wolfman and George Perez to sign all 12 issues of those, and they were beat up and red. I finally found an old trade for like $1 in an antique shop, so I can just read it. I regularly go back and it's there's certain books and stories I go back to that I just kind of read at least once a year, once every 2 years. I've read Crisis, I've read Watchmen. We all know what they are. We all have those stories we go back to. Sword of the Atom, I go back and reread every now and then. Good stuff, man. Crisis, I feel really lucky to have been reading comics for 8 years, and then Crisis hits. Like I knew just enough to figure out how amazing this was, and that had never been tried before. Um, it's one of the reasons that Millennium Legion of Superheroes 2-part story that Bendis is doing leading up to Return of the Legion is It was horrible. I'm not jealous of the signed copies you have at all. Those books are beat up. They are beat up. I mean, there's a lot of love in them and stuff, right? But I've got a whole box of Crisis stuff. I'm always grabbing Crisis stuff. I've been tracking down every Crisis related issue. I'm down to one Superman and two GI combats. I need to look and see what I have because I think I finally completed mine. There was a DC Comics Presents I kept losing with the Creeper, but you got to watch some of those. All right, there's a list you can find online because there's some Crisis crossover issues that aren't marked as Crisis, and they actually play into Crisis, or they just had the red skies, and you'd have a hero or a villain looking up, going, "Who the skies are red." It just happens right before Crisis. The story's going on, and the only way it connects to Crisis is the skies were red. Like in the book. Sleepy Reader. I'm holding my breath, hoping the comeback of the Legion will be better than the Millennium thing. Well, I did my review. The book was horrible, right? And they're trying to. I actually saw. I don't know if it was CBR or Newsarama, but they gave the book like a 9 out of 10 rating, and I'm like, they are shilling. Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, Dark Phoenix Saga, Coming of Galactus. Those are books that get 9 and 10 ratings. This is not. I've already done my review. I got it out of my system, and I'm stuck with both of those issues because I had to pre-order them. I was lucky enough to read that part one and be able to cancel number one, Allegiance of Superheroes. I know nobody that wants it. Bendis, everybody in real life that I talk to when we do this thing, Bendis is the "I told you so" writer. People will give his stuff a chance. They'll get curious about the characters, or maybe they're coming back, and then they read it and they're like, "Told you so." So yeah. I went to comic reading order. There's a list of a few Omega Men that I swear I can't find how they tie in. I have those. I have all the Omega Men that tie in. Uh, the Crisis on the Infinite Earth crossovers. You have to if you have the single issues and you open the back cover, the back page at the very end of it, it'll have. Wait a minute, or is that Who's Who? Well, anyway, when you read Crisis on Infinite Earths, they may have just a panel. Something will happen, like they did with Blue Devil. There'll just be a panel where somebody disappears. They did this with Steel in the Justice League crossovers and stuff. And if we'll go with Justice League Detroit. Steel was fighting some of the Brotherhood of Brotherhood of Evil from the Teen Titans, and a character named Warp shot him through one of his warps, transported him somewhere, and it said pick up such and such issues of Justice League to see what happened to Steel. I'm thinking, grain of salt here, that something happens in Crisis in some issue, and then you have to go to Omega Man to continue that story. It was just a way to get you to get Omega Man. You know what I mean? Yeah, the ratings. Sleep Reader said those ratings are meaningless when they give it a 9 out of 10. And Sleep Reader is saying that he checked out Bendis' Superman and it was an "I told you so" moment with stuff. I always give credit. The reason I give credit to Bendis on his crime stories is that I'm always hoping he goes back to his crime stories. The dude can write. His powers stuff was great, but it was about cops and stuff. I think he's the guy that did Torso. Grain of salt. When it comes to Azzarello, Rucka, and Bendis, over time I've ended up mixing up all their stuff. Azzarello always disappoints me. Rucka throws out some great stuff, but Bendis seems to be like this powerhouse, and every now and then you'll have one of his fans, jump up to defend him when you didn't really have to defend him. You gave an opinion on his story, not on Bendis. It wasn't a personal talk on Bendis. It was the story. It was horrible. Bendis, I finally soured on Bendis when there was an issue of New Avengers where Sentry tore Molecule Man in half, and like it was nothing. And I was just, what's he doing? What's he doing? I've been enjoying Bendis's Batman universe, the Walmart reprints like a Gonzo, Brave and the Bold. A lot of it might be the artist. I don't know. Haven't checked them out. But again, a lot of my friends and I were just not into the newer comics here. They've been hijacked. It's not an evolution into a new age. I feel like it's going to yet. But the Walmart issues, I'm glad I never started getting those giant size 100 issues because they've already done it with, I think, Superman or somebody, but they're going to take the new stories that are in the beginning of those and reprint them so you can have them. You don't, yeah. Bendis's Miles Morales Ultimate Spider-Man is great in my humble opinion. Cool, cool. That is the one character I feel like Marvel messed up because just like what you're doing here, Gambit, I've always seen the kids, and and I do mean teenagers and stuff. When they talk about Miles Morales, they refer to him by first name. They call him Miles. To me, the way I'm interpreting that, they love this character, and he's not Spider-Man, he's Miles. So that's why I lay off of that one. I have seen with my own eyes people that love that character. If you see those in 50-cent bins, take a look. Okay. I've enjoyed not reading anything Bendis is writing. Nice. That's what Batman Universe is, the reprinted stories from the Walmart giants. Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, so that's why I'm glad I'm really glad I didn't jump on there. One of the reasons I didn't start getting the Walmart 100 issue page spectaculars and stuff like that is because as I was flipping through them, I already have a lot of the comics that are reprint, so it was killing me. All right, guys. Let me see. That might be it. We're coming up on 10 minutes shy. I'll take a few more questions and I'm going to pop off here, man. I appreciate you guys jumping in here. You got my mind off the moving for a while and I feel a little refreshed. I think I'm going to get a little snack or something here, eat a little bit, man. But like I said, for you guys that have jumped in here, I'm supposed to have really good internet to the place I'm moving. 50 megabytes per second or whatever it is, up to 60 is what I'm told I'm going to have. So maybe there'll be a better quality of live shows and stuff is what I'm hoping. What is the meaning of life? What is 42? Next question. Yeah, that's what I just said. Nice. Yeah, I know that's been bothering you, man. All right, guys, thanks for jumping in here. Be excellent to each other. I have the big move coming up on Saturday, which is where I get all the actual furniture out. So hopefully, there may be another show. I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see what's going on here, man. But thanks, everybody. Check out Elric. That's my reading. I think that's what I'm saying. Go out there and get you some Elric. Get a little bit about Elric, and we'll do it. Later, guys.